Good Wednesday evening, everybody. This is Jay, and just wanted to do a quick catch up on the things going on in professional wrestling. And quite honestly, there's only one thing I want to talk about tonight. Is the appearance of Adam Copeland, aka Edge, in AEW. They had their Wrestle Dream show this past weekend. And when Brainless One and I were doing our predictions on Friday, he specifically spoke of Edge showing up at Wrestle Dream. There were conflicting reports for quite a while about whether or not Edge, his contract was up at the end of September or if it was beginning of October. Clearly, it was the very end of September because we ended up getting Adam Copeland showing up in AEW on October 1st at Wrestle Dream. When Edge had his last match against Sheamus in Toronto, it felt like not the crescendo for the end of such an amazing career that it felt like he deserved. I think that what we got here is Edge loves WWE. Tried and true WWE guy. I believe the company thought maybe he just would never leave. But sometimes there are things at play that you just don't foresee. One of the things after that match he had with Sheamus, I got on this podcast and talked specifically about, hey, maybe he shows up at Wembley Stadium when they did All In. That didn't come to fruition, but at the time, the information about his contract finishing up in September actually wasn't out there. But I laid out the case, hey, his best friend is over there, and there are a lot of opponents he has never faced before or hasn't faced in quite a while. I think that could be enticing. And a lot of people out there thought maybe I was a little bit crazy and the Edge was a WWE lifer, and why would he go anywhere else? He does a press conference after Wrestle Dream and explains why he made the decision that he made. And it was basically all those things. It was fresh opponents. It was being with Christian Cage. Being able to give back to the wrestling industry, which he's done plenty of good job in WWE, but WWE without Edge, it really doesn't suffer anything. But Edge, as Adam Copeland in AEW, lifts them up. What he's doing is a great service for the pro wrestling industry as a whole. He is still a draw. He's still a big name. And quite honestly, if you look at kind of the trade that Tony Khan just made, he got rid of his big headache in CM Punk, who incinerated the locker room every 5 minutes, to now you get somebody who has had a longer run, super established, that has a ton of respect from everybody, and he's not going to be that problem child that Punk was. I was never a big fan of AEW signing CM Punk. I was excited seeing him in the ring, excited to see him talk and all that jazz, but I knew, like, it just wasn't a good idea. He walked out on WWE, and there was nothing that was going to stop him from doing that again in AEW. That's why I'm not a big advocate of Mercedes Moné. She walked out on WWE twice. What's going to stop her from walking out on every other company out there? You can't trust somebody like that. Having somebody like Edge, he's going to bring a level of stability to the roster, and he's going to bring in another level of star power. This is nothing but positive in my book. And that video that they cut together of him in the muscle car and just driving down the roads, it was a cool little thing. And apparently Edge was like holding the camera guy as they were trying to get these angles. This was something that he and Darby Allin cooked up, and he talked to Darby and said, hey, where are some of the lesser known places out there that, I won't get noticed? He didn't want to ruin the surprise. Apparently, at one point during the weekend, there was a kid that saw him out at one of the local restaurants, and Edge had to give him a little shh, which is very similar to what happened to Brainless One and I when we went to a show at the Norfolk Scope a couple years ago, right before WWE was going on a European tour around Halloween. They came to Norfolk, and Orton was about to do a run-in, and we see him, and we're like, oh! And he just looks at us, and he's like, and then he did a run-in and RKO'd everybody, and everybody went home happy. It was great. Back to Edge, though. Edge went and was able to create something on his own. And that was another thing he mentioned. It wasn't that he couldn't be creative in WWE, but he could not fully unleash the creativity inside of him for the character or even what he was trying to do. As much as he tried to play down the stuff that went on with the spooky pals, clearly that was not a direction or something that he was thrilled about. You start a faction, and like a month later, you kick the dude out of the faction who's the Hall of Famer, multiple-time world heavyweight champion, and you're undefeated. On what world does that make sense? And with Edge's new AEW contract, he apparently is doing a full-time schedule. It seems like Edge definitely wanted to do more stuff in WWE, but was not allowed. And I don't know if it's specifically they're trying to look out for his health, look out for his best interest with his back and his neck, or they're just trying to push up some younger performers and didn't want to invest as much time in having Edge on the television and taking time away from somebody else that really needs a boost. Thing is, though, Edge could have been that boost for somebody. I think he definitely boosted up Seth Rollins more than what he already was. I like the feud he had with Orton when he came back. Edge had a lot of really good matches and had some really good programs. The stuff he did with Finn Balor, really good stuff. Again, I think he helped elevate him. And as much as I didn't agree with what they did with the Judgment Day and how they broke them up from Edge, Edge helped elevate Finn, even though in the end, Edge got his comeuppance, or gave the comeuppance to Finn in the Judgment Day. I think that elevated that entire faction. So Edge did a lot of really good stuff in that run that he had in the last handful of years with WWE. I hope he could do the same thing in AEW. Clearly, he was so happy to be there. Clearly, the fact that he's going to be able to kind of do his own thing, and I don't think he's going to go overboard and go crazy. I think he's going to enjoy the freedom of being able to do his own thing. And just, I think that joy is going to lift him, and it's going to lift the quality of his opponents. I'm looking forward to seeing him against Kenny Omega. As much as Brainless One is not a fan of Kenny Omega, I think Kenny Omega actually is a very good performer. Not a big fan of his character work necessarily. All that being said, I can't wait to see a match between Edge and Omega. I want to see Edge and Samoa Joe. The fact that in a 31-year career, that was the first time that Edge was in the ring with Sting is just absolutely mind-boggling. But, there's people like that he'll get to interact with. He talked specifically about Luchasaurus. Right now, Luchasaurus is with Christian Cage. And Edge made his debut as Christian, defended and defeated Darby Allin in a 2 out of 3 falls match. I love the fact that Edge was able to keep his music. And that was another thing that we did discuss on the show. It was Alter Bridge's song. It wasn't WWE's song. So Edge was going to be able to take that wherever he went. He's friends with Alter Bridge. Edge said, "Wherever I go, the song goes." They got Beth Phoenix to voice something different off the top, but they kept the pyro almost exactly the same. Just about everything was Edge, but he has to use the name. He's using his real name now, Adam Copeland. All good stuff, all great stuff. And I love that he came down to the ring and he just kind of, motioned to Christian, "Hey, give me the chair," and lined up as if he was going to do the concerto to Darby and finish Darby off. He ends up turning on Christian and all his faction. Christian got away scot-free, but Edge delivered a couple of spears and hit people over the back with the chair a few times. Really outstanding debut. One of those wrestling like goosebump moments. I wish, and this is for me as somebody who's watched the stuff, it's like I wish I could bottle that for like a millisecond. I can only imagine as a performer what the heck that's like. But he got to do his thing with Christian, and he mentioned that in a perfect world for him, his last match and ending his wrestling career will be with Christian. Whether or not that means a wrestling match between the two of them, or if they will team up for one last go round in AEW and close out their career. All that being said, I think he will do the AEW thing for a few years, but I think Edge's last match in the end will be in WWE, and Christian will probably be by his side for that. But Christian had just signed a multi-year extension with the company, and sounds like Edge, aka Adam Copeland, signed also for at least a couple years or a few years in AEW. And again, it sounds like he's going to work a full-time schedule. I don't think we're going to get a match from him every week. I think we'll probably get a match from him once a month, and I think that would be perfectly good. As far as who I really want to see him against, I want to see him in the ring with MJF. I want to see him and MJF trade barbs at some point. I want to see him and Danielson. There are a lot of great performers that they would just absolutely tear the house down. I'm looking forward to see Adam Copeland and what he does in AEW. This is a fantastic signing. I'm so happy to see this. So happy that he'll be able to end his career how he wants it. And, you know, he didn't talk bad about WWE. He just said, hey, they had an idea for what they wanted to do with me. I had my own idea. We weren't mad at each other. I had a whole bunch of people, higher ups, who were super happy, super congratulatory of me. There's no bad feelings. Edge is a guy who does business right. So for now, those are my thoughts on Edge signing with AEW. And I will be back on Friday at 6:30 for the F and Marks podcast. And we will go deeper into that. We'll also talk about all the other things that have gone on in professional wrestling, talk about the good, bad, and the brainless, and some of the things that just drive us crazy. All right, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Make sure you hit the like, make sure you hit the subscribe, and share this out. Let everybody else join in the conversation about our favorite sport we all love to hate, professional wrestling. See you Friday, everybody. Yeah!